football fans, and welcome to the Onside Kick. My name is Ricky Widmer, and I am joined by my trusted friends, Dave Oster.
Hey, guys.
And Mark Weber.
How's it going?
And we're here to talk none other than football, as we are a week away from the biggest game of the season, Broncos Seahawks in New York. Richard Sherman creating all sorts of hectic news this week because of comments that offended some, but I don't know why. And the Browns find their new head coach. But guys, following the NFC Championship win over the Niners, Richard Sherman calls Crabtree a sorry receiver, bleeping out the ass, and then goes on in his postgame after that to rip Crabtree more, and he gets fined for the comments. What do you think of the comments?
He didn't get fined for the comments. He got fined for the choking.
So for the Reggie Miller?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what he got the fine for, because it was I don't know, unsportsmanlike conduct, I guess.
I
is
don't
what they
get
want
it.
to call it.
I don't get it.
I disagree with the fine. I think the fine's a little ridiculous. I mean, if, Cam Newton can get a touchdown and Superman it, why can't a guy on the, defensive back knock down a ball and do the choke symbol? Why not?
A game-winning knockback.
Yeah.
To go to the Super Bowl.
Why can't he do that? But I mean, when it comes to the actual comments themselves, and we're a little past this whole thing, although people are still making a big deal about it. I think I don't have an issue with the Aaron Andrews or the Fox Deportes comments. Those I don't really have a problem with it because of the adrenaline. I don't like the post-game conference just because it's just my personal style. I like the guys like Tom Brady, like Peyton Manning, the humble guy who just sits there and throws it back to the team.
So wait, you like to hear cliches like, we got to take it one game at a time, and all these sorts of phrases.
This isn't the WWF.
See, but I like that. I like something different.
I think, for me, it takes away from the team a little bit. And
How?
also...
How? He kept talking...
Because you're putting it on me.
If you look at any
it's
of his...
me.
No.
Me.
Listen
That's
to
what
any
he
of
did.
his interviews. He talks about Earl Thomas.
You put Crabtree on me, best receiver, best
but if you talk to
quarterback
him,
in the game, me.
Except for the adrenaline, like you said, the
even
adrenaline.
in the post game when he's still criticizing Crabtree.
Still, the way I'm seeing it, that's after the game. The adrenaline is still.
The next day, when he's still talking about the fact of Crabtree was talking shit to me, I'll let you ask Crabtree what he said.
Yeah,
still,
no,
me.
But the next day, because he apologized for the comments, and you talk to him ever since, and it's like all he talks about is his other
somebody
teammates.
sat him down and said,
No,
shut the fuck up. Shut up and calm yourself down.
We're talking a lot.
Bad.
Dave, you've been quiet. What do you think about the comments?
I think he's totally in his own character. It just seems like Richard Sherman's a smart guy. And yeah, you get caught up in the moment at the end of the game. I see that. But I don't know, Mark. I don't buy your point of the calm and collected for the post-game interview. I think guys are still pretty amped up. I mean, he just won. He made the decisive play to set his team in motion to go to the Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure I'd be excited for about the next 24 to a week.
Plus, another thing you got to look into it, Crabtree plays for who? The 49ers. Arguably, and anyone from the Seahawks can say, oh, it's not a rivalry. This is a rivalry. And the Seahawks hate the Niners as much as the Niners hate the Seahawks. And I feel like that played into it.
I completely understand that. And I don't... Why it's not like a thing where I'm sitting here going, I don't understand why he would do it. I totally get it. I just don't like it. I'm not offended by it. And I'm completely fine with it happening. I just look at it and through my eyes it's, oh, that wasn't very classy.
See, I don't know, though. I like it, though, because I'm sick and tired.
It's different viewpoints on the situation.
I'm just sick and tired of hearing cliches like we got to take it one game at a time, and I'm trying to think of others, and I can't. Just go and listen to a Tom Brady or a Peyton Manning interview, and you're going to hear 50 of them. Mm-hmm. That's the way I feel. It's nice to hear someone actually, speak
candidly
from their I'm not going to say their mind, but like from their heart, I should say.
Well, these days you can't because you'll get ripped on anything because the media blows everything completely out of proportion as far as the sports world goes. I mean, First Take would have like a 30-minute roundtable discussion.
They're probably still talking about this today.
Oh, absolutely.
I think a thing for me is I I said this to you guys earlier where I wasn't really sure who I would cheer for in this situation. Did I want the Broncos or the Seahawks? I have no problem with either team. As soon as this happened, I was like, I guess that makes it easy for me. And to make the reference back to the WWF, WWE, and nowadays...
No, it's WWF. It will always be the WWF.
The World Wildlife Foundation.
I love that panda logo.
Yeah, exactly. They put those pandas head-to-head in that steel cage. But it's a situation where Richard Sherman immediately made his team the heel. You can cheer for the heel. The heel, for those of you who don't know about wrestling, is the bad guy. The guy you're supposed to not like. And then you got the face, which is Peyton Manning, and that big four-headed face. But it's just a situation where it makes it easy to cheer for. It's like people cheer against the Miami Heat. They love to cheer against the Miami Heat in basketball because we are supposed to hate the Miami Heat. What Sherman does, and does very, very well, very intelligent man, very great athlete, but he has a shtick about him, and it's that he's a villainous type of player.
I don't agree with that.
He's known as being one of the most trash-talking players.
Yeah, well, okay.
That makes you kind of villainous.
To me, just because you trash talk doesn't make you a villain. Would you consider Reggie Miller a villain?
Yes.
Just because he trash talks?
Yes.
See, to me, anytime I played sports as a kid,
Steve Smith, villain.
On the playground, no matter where I was, you're always talking trash to the opponent. And I feel like the reason I wouldn't call Richard Sherman a villain in this case is when he was asked about his trash talking, like, do you do research on the wide receiver you're going one-on-one with?
So he's only a little bit of a villain.
Do you call out like their family or their mother? And he goes, no, I don't do that. The way he does it is a sophisticated way of trash talking where he gets in your head by you're thinking 5 plays down. Oh, I got to show him up. And he's already in your head just by doing that.
You're literally describing something that is like something a writer would use while writing a villain, a guy who gets in someone's head. I'm just saying, like, I don't have a problem necessarily with this act. Sports need people to cheer against. That's why people hated Rex Ryan and the Jets. Not necessarily because they hated the team, but they liked to hate the team. I don't see Sherman
as a guy that you cheer against. I see people maybe cheering against him because he doesn't fit the norm. He doesn't fit the cliche.
That's villainous.
Yeah, it's just different.
That's villainous.
I don't think
different is
villainous to me is evil.
No,
he's not evil.
That's villainous. Essentially, I mean, this is just two different
villains
people
are evil
disagreeing in a situation. They don't have to be evil. They just have to be against what is socially accepted as the norm and good. Guys like Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, I'm right in it. That's socially accepted as this is the kind of guy I'm supposed to like. Sherman is not that. He breaks the mold. That's why he's villainous.
Okay, then I'm going to throw this out then. If he's against the norm, why did he go up to Crabtree and say, hey, man, good game? Wouldn't he go up to him and say, hey, you know what? We beat you. Bye-bye. Have fun at home.
You can say for 100% certainty that it wasn't mocking in his face or something like that, though. I mean, you just don't know in this situation. That's a problem with...
You didn't know when you saw the sound effects on NFL?
That's a problem when you have this whole type of conversation. We're talking about the meaning behind players' words, things like that. That's why it's kind of silly. I mean, we're talking about it because we're essentially, as a podcast, sports media.
Yeah.
I say that kind of in quotes. But we're sports media, so we have to talk about these things. But when you just look at the typical roles it has, the Broncos are the face, the Seahawks are the heel. That's all it is. And that's why you got people like ESPN, you got even Fansided, you got, Bleacher Report. Everybody is doing it. Everybody is putting out the storyline right now because it's what sells.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy like Richard Sherman, who's smart, he knows it. I don't doubt that he's aware of it and he's going to try and continue it. It's what Steve Smith does. He knows that he's considered one of the guys who talks trash, who's one of the badass receivers, so he amps it up.
Now, Ricky, you were saying, from the media soundbite, we could hear part of that conversation, but that's all it was part of the conversation. We don't know what they've been going back and forth with the entire game.
Oh, I'm not saying his entire
No, that's
game.
My point is, say you shit talk somebody for the entire game and, you end up winning, oh, yeah, hell of a good game. you don't know how it's gonna fly. I mean, you may be feeling respectful about it, but they're gonna take it in a different way.
I understand and why Crabtree basically punched him in the face.
I still think that was going too far.
But the way I saw...
It's not like Crabtree isn't also to blame.
The way I saw Richard Sherman at the end of this game was, hey, you know what? We might have had some words during this game, but in the end, good game, man, and I wish you the best of luck.
It's easy to say when you're going
yeah,
to the Super
people
Bowl.
can't leave things on the field like that sometimes. Especially in the playoffs when it's one and done. I mean, that's the guy who just ended your season.
Yeah.
And basically, like, his play.
I mean, even if he is being a little nice, it also kind of rubs it in your face a little bit. Just a little bit.
Well, and another thing, comment-wise, that Richard Sherman made, and I know it's heat of the moment, but I want to put a microscope on this, is with the adrenaline pumping after winning a game, Sherman came out and said, I am the best corner in the game. Now, Sherman isn't the only corner in the game. You got Darrelle Revis, Charles Woodson, Brandon Flowers, and for some people, Mark, that might think you're a little biased as a Bears fan, there is Charles Tillman. So don't try to let your bias out too much, buddy.
No, Charles Tillman's definitely really good. Pro Bowl cornerback, but he works specifically in the system that he's in, obviously, as a lot of people do, such as, Darrelle Revis works really well when he can just be Revis Island.
Which he has not, especially this year. He has not been.
And he, I'm sure, is excited to have some Lovie Smith action going on there where he can be Revis Island again, hopefully. But yeah, I think for this one, it's tough because the way Sherman says it, and, like we said, he's a very smart guy. Yeah, I mean, I understand his point. I understand his point in saying that this year he was probably one of the best, if not the best, cornerback.
Most interceptions in the league with 8.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a case to be made in that situation. Although if you want to just purely go off of interceptions, the Chicago Bears cornerbacks have had that pretty much locked up most of the time. So there's a lot more that goes into it, obviously. It's a tough one because the way he says it, yes, I can see his point and I can agree with him, even though I think when we map out careers, I don't think he's going to be the best. And even though that's not what he's saying, but I don't think he'll be the best. And with that being said as well, I don't know. It's hard to put him above Revis just because it's Darrelle Revis.
See, and I mean, what I'm going to throw out there is you can't put it to me all on Sherman because Seattle has just a stout defense in general. But it's easy to say you're the best corner in the league when your defense is allowing least total yardage, least passing yardage, and has the most INTs this season.
Yeah, the one thing you have to remember when trying to, and any way you try to measure these guys out stat-wise, they're not in the same league even. You have one member, Darrelle Revis, who is using a zone defense. So he's obviously not playing, what made him Revis Island, what got him his money, his trademark name. You put him out there on the outside, put him on the best receiver, and just watch him disappear. That's not what he's doing. He took the money, went to the Bucs, and he's playing that team defense. He's no longer, on his own. He's a cog in the wheel, basically. Meanwhile, you've got Sherman, who he's playing into the system that fits him, fortunately, and that system is loaded right now. So that really does help when you have a great pass rush. You have great safeties to help cover. You have linebackers who can cross the entire field. It's like, I don't want to take anything away from him because he's a phenomenal player, but your job gets a whole lot easier when your supporting cast is a different level.
Well, and I mean, to kind of what you just reminded me of, Dave, is we can't forget about Darrelle Revis because me as a Vikings fan, I still remember when Bring Your 84 Jerseys Out came back. Randy Moss playing. It was the matchup that we all waited for because Randy Moss coming from the Patriots, going to play Darrelle Revis again, and Revis just shut him down. So, I mean, for me, it's kind of hard to say Sherman is the best corner in the game because I know what Darrelle Revis can be. Hell, I mean, one cornerback that you could throw out there, I wouldn't, but you could. The guy that's going to be on the other side of the ball from Sherman with the Broncos, Champ Bailey. He's a Hall of Fame cornerback.
Definitely.
Or will be.
definitely. Future Hall of Famer. I think, and this was I believe it was Darrelle Revis's response, actually, to this, was that it's all a matter of opinion. Darrelle Revis saying, I think I'm the best. Deion thinks he's the best. Sherman thinks he's the best.
Okay, if we're talking like all time, I kind of feel like Deion is, and I'm saying this sarcastically, just a tad bit better than Richard Sherman.
Just a little bit.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong to say that?
No, but I mean, I think it's just getting to the point of you can't be surprised when a player says, I'm the best. Joe Flacco did it, and he won himself a Super Bowl.
No, he didn't say he was the best. He said, I am an elite quarterback.
Basically the same thing.
Basically, but he was basically just saying,
he's
you
not
know what, I'm in that
Eli
company.
Eat,
Eat.
But he's close.
But, I mean, now bringing up the Broncos, we have Super Bowl Sunday, a little over a week away. The weather could play a huge factor in this one, as the New York area is looking to get hit with a butt ton of snow. But we have all week, you've heard it, best defense from the NFC and the NFL over here, best offense from the AFC and the NFL on the other side. What are you guys thinking? What is going to trump the other, defense or offense?
It really depends on the game. I mean, if we do have a blizzard situation, obviously Marshawn Lynch is going to have a fun time out there. He's going to really love running around in that weather. But, I mean, if you have a different situation where it's perfectly clear, the weather's great, Peyton Manning's going to have a lot of fun out there.
I don't think it's going to be perfectly clear.
You never really know.
A little clear.
I mean, when you have as much time for preparation, there could be a little snow, and you can make it pretty damn clear when you have that type of time. And you know the NFL is going to spend the money to make it clear and comfortable. So it's going to be an interesting one. If we want to get into kind of our predictions and our thoughts for the Super Bowl already, I think when it comes to me, yes, there's a matchup between best defense and best offense. But there's also the other matchup of a good defense versus a good offense. However, with that being said, I think we saw even just against the 49ers, which 49ers obviously great defense, but they had a easy time getting to Russell Wilson. Unfortunately, Russell Wilson runs around a lot, and he's hard to take down. Now, with that being said, I think the Broncos are still going to be able to get to Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's still going to be in a lot of situations where he turns his back to his receivers, does it all the time. It's a bad habit that I hope he gets out of because I like the guy as a quarterback. So when you have situations like that, you're not going to see that mistake from Peyton Manning. And I think that quarterback duel in that situation, it heavily favors Peyton Manning. So with that, I think, yes, we're probably going to have a lower scoring game. And I'm not talking like 6-3. I'm talking like, in the 20s, lower scoring.
See, I agree with Colin Cowherd. I heard him today on Mike and Mike in the Morning say that do not be surprised if we see a game that's like 17-13. And to me, I heard that prediction, that little score, and I was like excited because to me, all I want from the Super Bowl is to it to be close. I think of close Super Bowls. The first thing I think of in my head, just because of maybe it was because I was a younger me and a little bit more towards childhood than adulthood, but the 99 Super Bowl between the Titans and the Rams, that one last play, stretching out just a little bit close, but didn't get the touchdown for the Titans, and the Rams win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely could see it being close, especially with a good defense. And a great defense out there as well. I just think, I don't know, we're not seeing the days from Peyton Manning where it's go ahead and throw it deep. Just go ahead, you're Peyton Manning. You can pick people apart. We're having smart, methodical Peyton Manning out there who's running the quick, short type of plays. And a lot of picks, a lot of screens as well. So that really kind of helps out, and it can work against a really good defense.
Here's my only negative for the Broncos on offense. This season, the type of quarterbacks that have given this, you could almost say elite, Seattle Seahawks defense, the quarterbacks that's given them struggles have been mobile quarterbacks. Carolina, Cam Newton, 12-7 win. San Francisco, Kaepernick gave them trouble. Yeah, they split the season series, but Kaepernick still gave them trouble. Andrew Luck was able to beat the Seahawks this year. But when you look at it on the other side,
Andrew Luck.
But when you look at, hey, Andrew Luck he has more rushing touchdowns and yardage than Trent Richardson. He's a mobile guy. He can run the ball. And then you look at quarterbacks like Drew Brees. The Seahawks completely own Drew Brees this season, beating him twice.
Definitely. Yeah, it's an interesting situation. I mean, the Seahawks defense is a fantastic defense. And I'm, kind of saying reasons why I think the Seattle Seahawks are going to lose. But with that being said, easily can go out there, get a few picks off of Peyton Manning and win this game. Easily can do it. Best defense in the league for a reason. I mean, they're a great defense. They can go out there and get it done. They can be the reason the Seahawks win. With that being said, though, I think Peyton Manning, who is, such a
not mobile
smart
at all
guy. Yeah, he's not mobile. He knows he has that disadvantage, though.
And that's their biggest That's going to be their biggest weakness on offense.
Without a doubt. But I think if Peyton Manning is half the quarterback we all think of him as, he knows that going in, and he's got a game plan in his head of what he can do to counteract that.
See, and here's where I'm going to flip it to the other side. I gave a weakness for the Broncos. The most important player to me on that Broncos offense coming into Super Bowl Sunday, Wes Welker. The reason why, if the Seattle Seahawks linebacking core does not shut down, not even shut down, play effective defense, I'll say, against Wes Welker, he's going to pick up third downs and the Broncos are just going to move the chains. It doesn't matter what the defensive line does, how they're able to get to Peyton Manning. If Peyton Manning can hit Wes Welker on a little slant, little out route here and there to pick up little third downs, then the Broncos are just going to win this game. I'm going to say it flat out.
Well, fortunately for Peyton Manning, obviously he's the kind of guy who makes receivers what they are.
Or makes them better.
Yeah, and you never really know who's going to be the main guy in a Broncos game.
It could be either the Thomases. It could be Eric Decker, everyone's saying, oh, what a great receiver. Eric Decker is still Eric Decker. Don't put him with Peyton Manning and he becomes plain old Eric Decker again.
Yeah, exactly. It's just the situation for the Seahawks, which luckily for them, they are going to line up fine against a lot of these guys. And they can, kind of shut some of them down. But it's just a situation where you can't really game plan for one specific guy because then Peyton goes, all right, let me throw it to Julius Thomas instead.
Yeah, he's just got so many weapons on that offense. There's no real one way to shut him down other than applying pressure, which is, I think, where the Patriots went wrong last week. We watched them pretty much kind of sit back. We're going to drop everybody, try to make Manning beat you with his arm. Well, no shit, you're not going to win that. It's like, I'm really disappointed in Belichick's defense because you figure Belichick is like the game plan guru. He would have completely set up his defense just to mess with him. He didn't. I expect a whole lot of pressure on this offensive line. I think Manning does, the one thing he's known for is those pre-play calling checks. He gets his guys up to the line and he'll stand there for 20 seconds, yelling and screaming, picking apart your defense. The bonus is the Seahawks aren't trying to hide anything. They just play, we're better than you. We're going to come out here and beat you in one-on-one situations. So that's my favorite matchup.
See, and I mean, I'm most interested, and I've said this, when I watch the Super Bowl, the first thing I'm going to be looking for, and I can't wait for that moment, is when Peyton Manning finally decides to throw to one of his weapons that's being guarded by Richard Sherman.
He doesn't stop every single ball from
No, I'm not saying he does, but the hype that's going to come into this game about Peyton Manning versus Richard Sherman, because of what we've talked about before. Richard Sherman's going to be the most talked about Seahawk this week, especially with Media Day going on. And everyone's going to be talking about it. That first throw to that side of the field is going to be, I think it's going to set the tone. Because, I mean, Richard Sherman, if I'm Richard Sherman, you put him on Demaryius Thomas. Look at what Talib was able to do before Wes Welker knocked him out of the game.
It's true, and totally unrelated. But I bet you, there's certain Seahawks wide receiver who's happy he's not a story in the news at all. Richard Sherman's a smart man. That's all I'm saying. Percy Harvin.
You're talking about, I thought you were talking about, I gave you a look.
The blank stares just really weren't helping.
I was like, are you talking about who I think you are? But, I mean, Harvin,
He's not a news story.
I mean,
you got 2 weeks to focus around this game, and guess what? We're sitting here talking about this guy making a public comment, being a little excited after a game. He's now the focus of the Seahawks instead of the will he, won't he game that is Percy Harvin.
Yeah, but Carroll came out this week and said Harvin's going to play.
Yeah, but in what
How many
context?
downs is he going to play, though?
I don't know.
You are the Percy Harvin expert. You've suffered through his headaches more than us.
Well, if it's me, it's the Super Bowl. If Percy Harvin's a go, you put him out there. Because,
what's the worst that happens? He gets injured?
I talked about it last week.
He always gets injured.
I made a comment, I think it was either last week or 2 weeks ago, about how the trade eating away of Percy Harvin was great for us because how many snaps has he played this season? It doesn't matter now. If he plays any amount of snaps in the Super Bowl and is effective, put the foot in my mouth. Because then he helped the Seahawks win a Super Bowl. Well, and coming into this game, both teams also, I feel like this is an important Super Bowl for both teams historically. Because, I know earlier I said the 1999 Super Bowl was Rams-Titans. I was talking 99 season. That was the 2000 Super Bowl. In the 1999 Super Bowl, we had Denver beating Atlanta and John Elway winning a Super Bowl for the Broncos. Last time they
riding off into the sunset.
Riding off into the sunset.
Much as Peyton Manning should do.
Should do, but will he? That's the question.
Know. Tough question.
Whereas Seattle, the only other time they've been to the Super Bowl, they got smashed by the Pittsburgh Steelers in Detroit in a game where probably should have won if the refs called the game like a football game.
Well,
money.
We got to remember that the NFL has some of the worst officiating ever.
How big was Mike Tomlin's wallet? That's my question.
I just want to say, in the conference games themselves, that officiating was terrible. Absolutely miserable. And then the review rules, too. There should be nothing that cannot be reviewed. Everything should be reviewable. You only have 2 challenges anyways.
So take away the coach's challenge of what you're saying.
No, I'm not even saying that. I'm saying let the coaches challenge what they want to specifically challenge if they want to take the time to look at it. Because in other situations, you'll have the ability to, run up there real quick, get a quick snap off. We're not going to go backwards and take something away. Although, to be fair, we learned recently that referees can go back in time and take things away. I'm still really confused about how you can spike a ball and the last play gets reviewed.
Yeah.
But that's a different story. Officiating, awful. I just had to get it off my chest as soon as you mentioned officiating.
Well, that's one of the things that
Do I expect the officials to mess up the Super Bowl again? Yes.
So you expect it to be crappy officiating?
How often do we have calls in big games that are maybe not the deciding moment, but momentum shifters? Or in last year's Super Bowl, questionable, should it have been a call, should it not have been a call moments?
Yeah. See,
I don't want to get into whether or not that should have been a thing. It's just a matter of you have those moments where it's everybody's questioning the officiating. I don't doubt that we're going to have at least one of those, especially with this season, with how bad the officiating's been.
The way I see it is think about last year's Super Bowl. And I know, Mark, your opinion is that there was pass interference
and offsides
on that last play, but most importantly, the pass interference part.
In the end zone, yeah. By 2 different pass interferences.
You thought there was pass interference in the end zone. I believe refs didn't. We've had this conversation before, too. Didn't call it because they didn't want anyone saying, oh, well, they decided the game. Me, to compare it to something that just happened earlier this month of January, BCS title game, the last one we're ever going to see. To me, that last pass interference that they called in the end zone on Auburn, that sealed the game for Florida State. Because, to me, calling that, to me, it's questionable pass interference. That's a decide to call it or don't decide to call it. Either way, you're right. And they call it and decide the game. I rather see them hold the flag than throw it.
You don't want to see a tuck rule, where the tuck rule comes out and then the Patriots can continue moving down and get that touchdown, win a game or win the game. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one, but without a doubt, there's going to be, and I'm not talking a stupid, oh, that wasn't holding. Oh, well, it's the first quarter. I'm talking like when we get down to it, I think there's got to be an officiating thing. That
like a pass interference call that's not pass interference.
Or like, roughing the passer or hitting a defenseless receiver, something stupid like that. Those type of things. I think we're going to have one of those.
See, I hope not. Or like even now, because of the rules that are in place, what if there's a hit and the refs feel like they have to eject someone from the game?
Sure, you don't see that as often. You definitely don't. I just thought back to the hitting the plant leg of the kicker instead of the kicking leg of the kicker type of thing, like where we have a questionable call like that. That's a perfect situation where a call like that should get reviewed. And I know that's an officiating thing, but that should be the kind of thing that is reviewable, that's not reviewable. That there should be some, eye in the sky type of thing going down, making a phone call going, hey, refs, you guys got that one wrong. Let's correct it real quick. While we're here, let's correct it. I mean, if you get past it, you get past it. Nothing you can do.
Yeah, and I mean, not to go totally off topic a little bit, but I feel like this relates just because it's about officiating. The one league that I feel has their officiating and, more importantly, how they review plays most in check is the NHL.
Exactly.
They have their central base in wherever city they have it.
The Pentagon.
And they basically, that's where they review everything that's going on that night in hockey. And then they basically call and say, hey, you know what? That call's not right. Get it right. Or reviewing, they review it over there, call it back. And I mean, it must be good because baseball's even now shifting to that kind of a system.
I mean, Fox has Mike Ferreira always on call, ready to do it. I mean, he's a guy who's sitting there watching everything, ready to explain anything. Yeah, it's just explanations, but why can't you get three guys in a room watching all these things going, all right, we're being told this is what we need to look at. Let's look at it.
Remember, if you're a wide receiver in the Super Bowl, make a second act.
Oh, definitely. You know what? We got to remember when you're out there, talk to those refs. We've seen it a few times recently. Just start complaining. Eventually, they'll start giving you some flags. That's what happens.
And one of the things I kind of want to throw out about this Super Bowl, because it just popped into my head. Which coach, if you had to pick, which coach has the best advantage coming into the Super Bowl? If you were a team, who would you want coaching you in the Super Bowl? John Fox or Pete Carroll?
Who's John Fox? You mean Peyton Manning? I'd rather have Peyton Manning. But no.
You mean the quarterback where the offensive coordinator gives Peyton 2 plays and then Peyton gets to pick.
And then if Peyton goes, I don't like either one of those, he can do whatever he wants.
He gets out of it.
Exactly. I think
depending on if it's raining, if the wind's blowing, what uniforms they have on. It's originally a run play, though.
It's tough. I think I would prefer to have Pete Carroll as my coach in this situation. I think he's a better... I mean, I guess I don't want to say he's a better coach than John Fox, but I really love the amount of success he's had in Seattle. I love the way the players respond to him. They feed off of his energy. You got that rah-rah attitude that, makes people go either jump all in with Seattle or go, fuck you, Seattle. But it works, and I think Pete Carroll gets a fantastic response from these guys. They love playing for him, and they want to make him happy. They want to show him that it's working, that they're working for him. I don't think you get the same thing out of John Fox. John Fox, fantastic coach. Obviously, he's in a Super Bowl. He's had a lot of success. But at the same time, John Fox, I mean, yeah, he's doing stuff, but Peyton Manning's got a lot of control out there. And I don't want to say it takes away from John Fox a little bit, but it makes his life a little bit easier.
See, and the one thing I believe about John Fox, I would also take Pete Carroll. It's because John Fox, to me, has never been that competent head coach, I'm going to say. Without Peyton Manning, John Fox isn't playing this upcoming Sunday. He's not playing February 2nd.
Probably not, because he's got, Brock Osweiler out there?
Yeah.
And that's nothing to be happy about. I mean, yeah, maybe he's got somebody else, but you're not going to get somebody Peyton Manning like.
And, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Mark. The last time John Fox went to the Super Bowl was with the Panthers when a quarterback called Jake Delhomme was having a hot streak in the playoffs, but then got shut down by the Patriots?
Yeah, Jake Delhomme, first of all...
He was the quarterback for that season, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Jake Delhomme, not the kind of guy you expect to have in a Super Bowl. Just saying. I mean, we're not surprised that Jake Delhomme didn't win a Super Bowl. Just saying that. When you got a guy like Peyton Manning, you're going to be surprised if Peyton Manning doesn't win a Super Bowl.
All I think about, though, when I say Jake Delhomme or I hear Jake Delhomme, the Chris Berman stuff, Jake, he throws it, and you got a Delhomme. Absolutely love that. But, I mean, going back to Pete Carroll, John Fox, I'd go with Pete Carroll. But at the same time, you might be saying it right now, listening to this podcast saying, but Ricky, Pete Carroll isn't proven either. Yeah, he won in college, but he was kind of a failure as a head coach before coming to Seattle. He didn't have a good tenure in the NFL.
Yeah, Pete Carroll didn't have the most success in the NFL, goes back to coaching college. And I think that really kind of solidified things for him. It made it, I don't want to say a little bit easier, but it kind of took some of the pressure off because there's a lot of pressure in the NFL. He has a lot of pressure over at USC as well, but it's not the same kind of level. He was able to work with these younger guys, kind of get that attitude that works well with him because what does he have in Seattle? A team full of young guys who respond to him, and he's known for the recruiting, and those are things that he really has as success. So with that, I mean, I think you can kind of forget about past failures when he's gone, moved on from it, spent a lot of time away from it, been so successful, came back to the NFL, gave it a second shot, and has been successful.
Okay, we're going to do another preview next Friday, right before the Super Bowl. But right now, 1 week before the Super Bowl, what's your gut saying right now? Who's going to win? Seahawks, Broncos.
My gut's telling me right now the Broncos are going to win. I've been saying it all along. Peyton Manning's going to go out there, get that second Super Bowl ring, ride off into the sunset. I mean, I guess I don't really know that that's going to happen, but that's what my gut is telling me. I think it's going to be tough, though. I think it's going to be a really tough game. I think what it's really going to come down to is I don't think that Seattle's offense is as good as Denver's offense. And I think that the defenses, yes, there's an advantage, obviously, with the Seahawks, but that offensive advantage of Peyton Manning, Thomas, Welker, all these type of guys is just going to be a little bit better.
Well, now to kind of move on to the last thing we're going to talk about in the podcast. I think it was last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, we talked about the Browns still not having a head coach. And I even joked that the Browns wouldn't find a head coach until the NFL Combine next month in late February. Well, they found their guy. And it basically, the way I'm hearing it from all the radio outlets that I've listened to in the sports world is that they hire Mike Pettine, the defensive coordinator from the Bills, and he was about to pull his name out of the job race, and they were like, no, don't do that. Here you go. Here's the job. Take it. Go ahead, take it.
Yeah, the Browns were a weird one because nobody wanted the job. Everybody kind of withdrew. Pettine was there. He's the one good thing that really came out of the Buffalo Bills. So they were waiting. I mean, I think they wanted to see things that were going to, obviously there's two different staffs that are still there playing. They're unable to really interview right now. So they wanted to wait. That would have been the ideal situation to check all, your possibilities. But this was a guy they didn't think they could let off the hook. They needed to have him as not a backup, but they needed to see, is anything going to compete with him? But we really want this guy. We want to keep him. We don't want to lose him. And the thought of even losing him, they're like, no, we can't do it. We gotta act now. Finally, the Browns gotta act.
Well, I think the funniest thing, and I came across an article on Yahoo Sports that the title says, Mike Pettine explains daughter's unexcited tweet for him to be the head coach of the Browns. His daughter, Megan Pettine, sent out a tweet during the interview process while he was interviewing with the Browns that basically said, possibly. He said the interview went well, and he's going back for a second. It's the Browns. But hey, still pretty cool.
I mean, would you want to take your family to Cleveland?
if I was the son, if my dad was like, hey, I'm going to be the head coach of the Browns, I was going to be like, good, I'm not going with.
Yeah, I'll stay. Have fun, Dad. Enjoy yourself. But yeah, I mean, it's the kind of thing, yeah, it's a football coach. And I mean, we don't know. Maybe she's a huge football fan, and she's saying the Cleveland Browns suck. You really want to go with the Cleveland Browns?
They are the factor of sadness.
Yeah, the guys who just got rid of their head coach after 1 year, you know, you want to go there? All right, Dad, if you want to get fired next year, you know, maybe that's the thing. Or maybe it's just Cleveland sucks. Do we want to go to Cleveland?
Cleveland sucks.
It's a dark and dreary place. Joakim Noah hates it. Why would we want to go there?
Well, and I mean, the big thing, and this is going to be the big question that people ask now for the next X amount of weeks until we see a Mike Pettine Browns team hit the field. Can he turn around this franchise? That's going to be the question asked.
And how long have we been asking that question, though?
Years upon years upon
Exactly.
years.
I mean,
they were even asking that question when my dad was a kid and he was a Browns fan.
And they even have, you know, the same thing with their new quarterbacks. They bring in new quarterbacks. Well, can we, you know, is this the guy who's going to take us somewhere, finally? So far, the answer is always no.
Well, I mean, it's a good sign. Look at what he was only with the Bills this last season. He's worked with Rex Ryan. He's been with the Baltimore Ravens, who have had great defenses under Ray Lewis. So, I mean, maybe the Browns are going more towards a defense central.
The thing about that is the Browns had a good defense this year. Their defense was fine. The problem was they have no quarterback. They don't have future prospects of a quarterback. They don't have any wide receivers. And they just traded away that running back that they, you know, spent number 3 overall on, which, yeah, is looking out pretty good for them, but they don't really have anything. You know what they have? They have one good wide receiver. That's what they have right now in Cleveland.
They have a good tight end.
Yeah, tight end's good too. So you got 2 weapons. That's it. Still got nobody to throw it to them. You know, that's what they need. They need to go out there, get themselves a quarterback. I don't know that getting a guy on defense really does that much because you're going to be stuck in the mediocre land because you have that good defense, and it doesn't do anything for you. So I don't think this is a great hire. Maybe it's not a bad hire, but I don't even know I would call it a good hire.
Well, one of the things, and I heard this earlier today on ESPN radio here in Chicago, they were talking about this hire by the Browns, and I think it was Waddle and Sylvie actually said it was either Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator for the Seahawks, or Darryl Bevell, the offensive coordinator, whichever one was in the hunt for this job. He basically said that Richard Sherman saved his coaching career because if the Seahawks didn't win and aren't playing on February 2nd, then he would have got the job over Mike Pettine. So because of Sherman, he doesn't have to go to Cleveland and have a brown stain on his career.
A nice little skid mark on his career? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe, you know, Pettine goes out there and the Browns are in the Super Bowl in 6 years. Crazier things have happened.
Do you see that happen?
No, crazier things have happened. I mean, if I was the coach of the Browns and I was playing Madden, yeah, we'd be in the Super Bowl next year.
Does Pettine take a quarterback?
I think he has to.
Okay.
They're pretty much set up. I would just take a step back and be like, all right, Cleveland, what did Indianapolis do after putting up one of the worst years in recent memory? They went out there, they drafted Andrew Luck. Obviously, you're not going to get another Andrew Luck
in this draft.
But you're going to be able to pick up whatever quarterback you'd like. I mean, they've got enough draft picks. I believe they have 3 picks in the first 35. They also have a few additional picks. I think they have 10 overall in the draft. So they can move up to number 1 if they really want to, if that is their choice.
And the Texans claim, rumor has it, Texans are willing to trade down.
Exactly. So not 100% sold on that Johnny Manziel rumors being number 1 pick. So I think they just kind of take a page out of the Colts book. Go out there and get yourself a quarterback and use that other pick to get yourself a weapon to go along with him. Somebody who maybe knows, his play style, maybe his wide receiver would be a late 1, early 2. You don't know. They do need the offensive power, though. That's what I definitely agree with you guys. Their defense was pretty solid last year. It kind of goes unnoticed because their offense was so pitiful.
Shitty.
Yeah.
The one thing I feel about the Browns drafting is, let's say Johnny Manziel does go 1. Let's just say that happens. And you're going to draft a quarterback. It's basically, who do you go with? Blake Bortles or Derek Carr?
If I'm the Browns, quarterback's been taken number 1 overall. It doesn't matter if there's another quarterback taken above you or not. I don't go quarterback.
And you know what? I completely forgot about Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
You can go Bridgewater 2 at 6. Unless he's taken 2.
I would not. If the guy you want, and all signs point to they want Johnny Manziel more than anybody else, he's taken, you don't have the ability to go to get him, I'll wait. I'll take someone else. A fantastic, get another wide receiver, somebody who's great. You got a running back you got to replace. Why not get a defensive player if you want to be defense-centric? Get somebody who will really make that defense the powerhouse of the AFC North.
If he's there, and this is going on the defensive-centric kind of motto. Jadeveon Clowney, in Todd McShay's mock draft, he goes at 5 to Atlanta. In Mel Kiper, he goes sooner than that. What if he falls to 6? If you're the Browns and you want to go more defense-centric, do you take a stab at a guy like Jadeveon Clowney?
It's interesting because I think he would be a big addition, but then again, it's almost like a toss-up because you got a guy who last year, at the end of the year, he would have been like, instant number 1 pick. This guy's a playmaker. This guy has instant impact written all over him.
Hit her around the world?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was impressive, that's for sure. But then we kind of saw his personality shine through, maybe a little lack of work ethic. He's a little sluggish halfway through a game. He's a little wheezy. And you're like, well, do I really want the guy who can't stay out on the field for 3 snaps, And maybe they're not in a position to do that right now. Seattle's able to do that because guess what? They have nobody soaking up all their money, so they're able to go out and take risks on these picks and even the later round picks. I just don't think it's the right direction for Cleveland to take at this point in their franchise. I think they really need to go out there and get that QB number 1 and get him another weapon on offense, and then start building the franchise around them.
Okay, last question I'm going to ask to kind of end the podcast, bring it full circle. Every head coaching vacancy is filled. Jay Gruden with the Redskins. We had Jim Caldwell with the Lions. Mike Zimmer with the Vikings. Ken Wisenhunt going to Tennessee. Lovie Smith of Tampa Bay. Bill O'Brien going to Houston. And now Mike Pettine going to the Cleveland Browns. Are there any of these hires that you guys think sticks out to you? Do you say is the best, or do you not like any of them?
I like the Lovie Smith to Tampa Bay. I like it because it's where he's from. This is where he got his kind of start in coaching.
You're not just saying that because you have a little bit of Chicago bias, are you?
Well, I mean, a little bit, but I don't think that Lovie Smith is ever going to be like that, phenomenal coach that goes out there and wins all these Super Bowls or anything. Otherwise, he would have already.
He went to one.
He did. He didn't win. If he was one of those guys who was going to win all these Super Bowls, I think he would have already won one with Chicago. He had some opportunities, but I mean, it's great. It's going to be a lot better than Greg Schiano, that's for sure. The defense is going to work really well there, especially with Darrelle Revis. And yeah, I think he's hopefully learned from his mistakes of ignoring the offense. And I think that's what this draft is going to be about.
What do you think, Dave? Which one kind of speaks to you?
Personally, I'm a pretty big fan of the Bill O'Brien Texans. The one that is about the only one that I really liked. The other ones I'll see as like lateral moves, or we'll have to wait to see how it pans out. I don't have a whole lot of faith in them. But the Texans went out and got like the marquee guy available. And what he's done in his short past and being a coach, phenomenal job. And everybody can see the talent and what he brings to an organization. So I'm really excited because this is a team who is like slated to be really good and just underperform their way to the bottom. And he comes in with the keys to the locker room. He's like, okay, this is a turnkey. He comes in. If he gets a quarterback, boom, there's an 8-win team.
Well, and I mean, the thing about Houston that we have to remember, is them and even Atlanta. These are the only two teams that are like this season. They were playoff teams last year. The fact that they were top 10 draft bad is a shocker. I had Houston and Atlanta in my playoffs.
No, I don't think anybody could have expected Houston being so bad. And the big thing is you just gotta get rid of Schaub. I mean, there's no way you can keep selling that to anybody. He's obviously whatever it is, he doesn't have it anymore. He's thrown so many pick sixes. Jeez. It would be bad enough they were just interceptions, but
gotta keep the streak.
You gotta go get a new quarterback, and they're in the position too. So I love it. Love the pickup.
See, with me, I'm gonna be honest. This is gonna be a lot of bias from me, but I like the Minnesota hire, not just because though that we got Zimmer, that we got Norv Turner.
Oh, and too. I thought you were gonna go with the Detroit hire.
It's a package deal. Well, I mean, Caldwell. He got handed to the keys to a nice...
It would be better if he was a Viking.
It was a nice car. No, yeah. I didn't want Caldwell, but Detroit's a team much like Houston. They can win this season. Let's see what he can do. With Zimmer, I feel like it's going to help the Vikings get better. Not win the NFC North better next season, but we're going to compete is what I'm saying.
You know what I smell right here? A Cubs fan.
Why? Why, Dave? Because I'm looking to next year?
Because it's always next year, baby.
Well, I can't talk about this year. We're not
Minnesota
in the Super Bowl.
Vikings 2018.
I'm not looking to 2018 with the Vikings. Only the Cubs. Only the Cubs I'm looking at 2018.
Well, you pushed it back a little bit.
A little bit. Don't get me started on that.
Reality's starting to tick in. He's running out of time.
Me started, but that's going to do it for the onside kick. Anything we talked about today, Super Bowl, Richard Sherman, any of the coaches, especially Mike Pettine getting hired by the Browns, leave those comments down below. Tell us what you think. We love talking to you guys. Hit that subscribe button, like button. Hit us up on Facebook at Onside Kick and then on Twitter at Onside Kick Real. And as always, have a good day, everybody.